I focused on a farmer in Sembabule. He was one of the first farmers to import in boas and savannas as a way of improving our local breed. When I focused on that, I followed, they had a whole study where they were distributing these improved breeds to different farmers within the area. I followed some of the beneficiaries, and I was able to see theoretically the beneficiaries actually improved in their economic well-being. So it inspired me to come and do it practically and also find out if truly improved farming methods can contribute towards the eradication of poverty and ensuring food security. My name is Sarah Atwaire Birungi. I am the founder of Air Farms. Air Farms is an enterprise that specializes in goats, specifically boas and savanna crosses. And we are on a journey to study how improved farming methods can contribute towards the eradication of poverty and contribution to food security. Here at Air Farms, we have different ventures. Our main venture is the goats project, but we also have cows, specifically dairy cows, and we have a banana plantation as well. What inspired me, it streams from my master's program. I was studying a master's in human rights with a focus on food security and poverty eradication. During my research, my dissertation research, I focused on Uganda, and my focus was on how improved farming methods can contribute towards the eradication of poverty and contribution to food security. So I did a lot of theoretical research. My focus, again, I focused on a farmer in Sembabule. He was one of the first farmers to import in boas and savannas as a way of improving our local breed. And when I focused on that, I followed, they had a whole study where they were distributing these improved breeds to different farmers within the area. I followed some of the beneficiaries, and I was able to see theoretically that the beneficiaries actually improved in their economic well-being. So it inspired me to come and do it practically and also find out if truly improved farming methods can contribute towards the eradication of poverty and ensuring food security. So that's why I decided to start the goat farm. This farm we are going to make 3 years in March next year. So it's a little over 2 years. And the experience I've had, again, it spans over a period of about 2 years. Yes, there are a lot of challenges when you're beginning. One of the challenges, of course, is financial, being able to raise capital and put infrastructure together. It was also one of the other challenges was I was based in the US and trying to set up something in Uganda. So traveling and then not being on ground, but I was lucky. I was able to find a good team that helped me to continue running the project while living mostly in the US. To all young people out there, I think I always talk about the advantage of time. I think we as the youth, the young people, we still have time as an advantage on our side. Is that we are able to start small, but because we still have time, we can keep growing. Goat farming personally has been very rewarding in many ways. Now, for me, I started at a bit of a bigger scale, but I want to encourage the youth, even when you don't have enough capital, start with where you are. Gather information, start with small, with the biggest goal of growing big. I think that's the focus really is the end result, not where you are, but where you want to be. The most important one is land. You're going to need land and depending on your resources, you're either going to acquire a big piece of land where you're going to do free ranging. But again, when we talk about improved farming methods, we are trying to step away from the free ranging. That's the traditional way of farming. Then if you have a small land, then you're going to consider doing zero grazing. I will show you, I've started planting pastures so that we can start moving away from the traditional grazing methods of just letting the animals go out and eat and come back to more semi-intensive, so that we can be able to maximize the use of whatever piece of land you have. Right here, I have about 120 acres. And under normal estimates, I could have up to maybe 2,000 goats. But I want to be able to improve my farming methods by planting pastures, by storing pastures, making silage, making hay, so that I want to see, can I have 10,000 goats on this piece of acre? That is where the goal is. The other infrastructure needed are the structures where the animals will stay and rest. This is, for me, I went with, and when you're talking about encouraging us, the youth, you want to encourage people to do something that is achievable. So that's why I decided, I went with these ones, so that you invest your money in more in income producing activities than in things that are not going to bring back money. So this is how our structure is. It has rained, it's been raining a lot, but here we are. Another equipment infrastructure that's needed, it's not equipment, it's not infrastructure, but it's very crucial. It's a water source, a reliable water source. And that right there is a make or break for you. Because if you do not have water, your animals are not going to be healthy. If you do not have water, your animals are not going to grow well. So for me, I invested heavily in a water source. I dug a borehole, and then I was able to incorporate, I put solar panels, because I wanted to invest in something that I'm not going to need daily input. I had two options of either using a generator pump or a solar powered pump. So I went with a solar powered pump, and I think it's right there. The solar panels are there. I have backup batteries. So water is very important. Then of course you're going to need a small structure for your workers, where your workers are going to sleep. Another thing, it's really not equipment, but you're going to need to build a small first aid kit where you have the essential medications for your animals, so that when your animal gets sick in the morning, you're not running to the nearest trading center to buy drugs. That saves on costs, it increases on your profitability. The initial investment required really depends on you as a person. The resources you have, you have to first identify what you have, and then you work backwards. So for instance, let me say I have 10 million, right? I'm going to have to budget and say, if I have 10 million, and do I have land? If I don't have land, I'm going to acquire some land, and then I'm going to have to make sure I have a little bit of money left, quite a bit of money left, to do the structures, to do the, to even buy the stock. So I usually get that question a lot, but I cannot tell you that you need this amount. You start with what you have and you work backwards. So there's no specific amount, but for instance, if you want to invest in the hybrids, you're going to know that females are 500,000. Then that's going to give you an idea of, if I need 10 females to start with at 500,000, this is the amount of money that I need to start with. That is it. That is if you already have the land, you have put up the structures, and you make sure that you also have a water source, you have a little bit of money in reserve, one for treatments, two for paying the workers, because this project takes time to be able to give you back money. My goats were sourced locally from a known farmer here in Uganda. So I bought them within the area from one of the farmers that has good breeds. Feeds, like I said, for me initially, I was just doing free ranging because my land is a bit, it's a good sized piece of land. But I have started now planting my own feeds. Here where we are right now, we are storing some of the feeds. This is alfalfa. Then we are also baling. We are making beds for hay. These are hay bales. So, but there are people that will not be able to have enough land to plant their own feeds, or to free range, I know that there are options where you can either hire land outside of your own place and then be able to use that land for planting your feeds. Some people just buy feeds from local sources. So it really varies a lot how you source. But for me, that's how I source my feeds. One of the things I did personally when I was starting this farm, I identified the people that were going to work on the farm. I took them to a farm that is well developed and has experience, that is run by a trained veterinary doctor. And my workers were there for 2 weeks. They camped there for 2 weeks and got the basic skills to run a farm. What are some of those skills? I already explained, like in our morning routine. Being able to look at an animal and identify that this animal is not okay. And then also being able to know what is wrong with it. What are some of the common illnesses, for them to understand those illnesses. Then another skill is being able to know what medication to administer under whatever circumstance. So that is very important, because you want them to understand that this animal is showing signs of maybe a cough. When a goat has a cough, this is what I treat it with. How many meals do I treat it with? So that is very crucial, so that every time you have these small issues, you're not calling the vet. And that helps you on saving on your cost. The biggest expense when it comes to operational costs is going to be mostly medication and feeding if you don't have big land. Because if you don't have big land, it means that you're spending on feeds on a daily basis. But if you have land, feeding is the cheapest expense you can incur. Drugs are can be costly, and these hybrids have a tendency of being a bit vulnerable, more vulnerable than our local breeds. So you're continuously spending on treatments. Labor is not that expensive, so that is not a big concern. A typical profit margin for me here, I've noticed it's about 50%. So for instance, if you stock 100 goats, those 100 goats are going to give birth, the first time, are going to give birth to between 100 and 120, because 150. If you're lucky, maybe 200, but that is not very common, that each goat will give birth to 2. It's not very common. So let's say they give birth to 150, and then you're going to factor in mortality rates. You say maybe 30 of them will die if you're lucky. Sometimes you can lose 50 as kids if you don't have good management practices. So let's say you're left with 100, and then your expenses and everything, you're going to say maybe that's another, it's going to cost you another 50. So I would say 50% profit margin is ideal to look at. Yes, the financial risks are there. I was talking about mortality rates. I'll share an example. When I first started the farm, because we practice natural synchronization, our goats give birth almost at the same time. So there's a time we produced over 100 kids in a period of 2 weeks. When those kids were about 4 weeks old, we were attacked by Clostridios, and I lost 59 kids in a period of 1 week. As I was trying to figure out what the problem was. As a new farmer, you don't know. Something hits you, it's new, you're not experienced. By the time you find out, the loss is quite big. So yes, those factors are there. Market, for me, I have not struggled with market to start with. In fact, the market is so diverse. If you do your research right now, goat's meat is one of the most expensive meats on the market. I think in most areas it's at 20,000, some areas it's at 22,000 per kilogram. So the market is, so far right now, it's almost untapped. The very first factor you need to consider when pricing goat's product is the breed. what kind of breed do you have? Do you have hybrids or do you have locals? Usually hybrids are more expensive than the local breeds. Then also, how much value addition are you incorporating? If you're adding value, you're slaughtering, you're packaging, then you're going to increase your prices. If you're selling just to the middlemen and they just come to your farm and collect the animals, then your price is going to be low. I certainly believe so, but again, for me, from my personal experience, you need to start with a good number of animals to make business sense. In my opinion, not less than 50 if you want to do it at a commercial level and to make sure that it's making you enough profit. So that's now where the challenge comes in, is being able to raise capital to actually start at a level that is going to make business sense. Future plans are many. One, like I shared, I want to keep experimenting and see if I can have 10,000 goats on this piece of land. For me, that's really my biggest goal, because why I want to do that is to be able to experiment and prove that you can use a smaller piece to produce massively. And that's where, because remember, land is limited. It's a resource that is not expandable. So what we have is what we have. We have to learn to use it to maximize our output. That's one of the goals. But I also want to get into agritourism. So eventually I want to be able to put cottages on the land so that people can come and learn about goat farming. We do campfires, we have fun. But I also want to build a network of other farmers. And what I've been doing is every farmer that buys from me, we keep record and we keep in touch with them, so that when we are faced with demand for higher quantities of meat for supply, we have a network of farmers that we can come together and pull together resources. Because currently the challenge, I've been contacted by so many people in the UAE that want tons and tons of goat's meat. For me, definitely I can't attend that. The country as a whole, we are still struggling to be able to do that. So, but if I build a network of farmers where we are practicing better farming methods, we are working together, we are sharing our experiences, helping each other, lifting each other up, we'll be able to eventually meet that market demand. I think what I would love to share is that this has been an exciting journey. It doesn't come without challenges. Of course, there are so many challenges, especially me doing the project while not living in Uganda full time. It's challenging, but everything, where there is a will, they say where there is a will, there is a way. When you want to do something so badly, you always figure out a way to make it work. I have been blessed with a good team, but I also put in a lot of time. I call every week when I'm in the US. We have weekly meetings every time, and then every Sunday, then I do random calls. Then I have people that I've hired as consultants that will just stop in unannounced and check. So just because I'm not around, I've not allowed it to limit me to do this project at an extensive level. There are different avenues you can learn more. YouTube is very, very informative. There is a wide range of different farmers that specialize in goat farming. You can go there. We also have a YouTube channel, Air Farms. So you just put in Air Farms and you'll be able to see us. I'm sharing our journey as we go along this journey of goat farming. But I also share some practical experiences. I share topics that specifically pertain to goat farming. Then we also have an Instagram page. It's also Air Farms. And then a Facebook page is Air Investment Farms. So you can find us there. And all those networks have different goat farmers that you can look at and do your study, reach out, ask questions so that you can learn along the way.